Ya Kumantim aharad atma vidyayas Charnavati paramasya tasya mestu Vivahita pratanamukham niriksha Svajanavadarum mukhasadakshavodya Kamahim maharat atma vidyaya Charnavati paramasya tasya mestu Kumatim aharat atma vidyaya Charnavati paramasya tasya mestu Charnavati paramasya tasya mestu Vyahita, standing at a distance. Pratana, soldiers. Mukham, faces. Niriksha, by looking upon. Svajana, kinsman. Vadhat, from the act of killing. Vimukhasya, one who is reluctant. Doshabudya, by polluted intelligence. Kumatim, poor fund of knowledge. Aharat, eradicated. Atmavidyaya, by transcendental knowledge. Ya, he who. Charana, to the feet. Rati, attraction. Paramasya, of the Supreme. Tasya, for him. Me, my. Ashtu, let there be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada ki. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Purport. The kings and the commanders were to stand in front of the fighting soldiers. That was the system of actual fighting. The kings and commanders were not so-called presidents or ministers of defense as they are today. They would not stay home while the poor soldiers or mercenaries were fighting face to face. This may be the regulation of modern democracy, but when actual monarchy was prevailing, the monarchs were not cowards, elected without consideration of qualification, as it was evident from the battlefield of Kurukshetra. All the executive heads of both parties, like Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna, and Duryodhana, were not sleeping. All of them were actual participants in the fighting. which was selected to be executed at a place away from the civil residential quarters. This means that the innocent citizens were immune from all the effects of fighting between the rival royal parties. The citizens had no business in seeing what was going to happen during such fighting. They were to pay 1/4 of their income to the ruler, whether he be Arjuna or Duryodhana. All the commanders of the parties on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were standing face to face, and Arjuna saw them with great compassion and lamented that he was to kill his kinsmen on the battlefield for the sake of the empire. He was not at all afraid of the giant military phalanx presented by Duryodhana, but as a merciful devotee of the Lord, renunciation of worldly things was natural for him, and thus he decided not to fight for worldly possessions. But this was due to a poor fund of knowledge, and therefore it is said here that his intelligence became polluted. His intelligence could not be polluted at any time because he was a devotee and constant companion of the Lord, as is clear in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Apparently, Arjuna's intelligence became polluted because otherwise there would not have been a chance to deliver the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for the good of all polluted conditioned souls engaged in material bondage by the conception of the false material body. The Bhagavad Gita was delivered to the conditioned souls of the world to deliver them from the wrong conception of identifying the body with the soul, and to re-establish the soul's eternal relation with the Supreme Lord. Atma Vidya, or transcendental knowledge of himself, was primarily spoken by the Lord for the benefit of all concerned in all parts of the universe. Om Jnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshrim Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kurtavachalam Pungundam Vaitegarim Yat Kripataraham Bande Shigaram Dinataranam Vanchakalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Here it's stated, Vimukhasya, one who was reluctant. So Arjuna, he was reluctant to fight in the battlefield of Kurukshetra because he had his relatives on the other side, and also because this was a transcendental pastime, and he wanted to hear the Bhagavad Gita from Krishna. So it's even mentioned that Krishna, he was speaking to Arjuna and said that he is aware of all different births. And Arjuna said, how is this possible? And Krishna said that you also were with me, but you don't remember. Just paraphrasing. So this is Krishna. He knows everyone's past, everyone's future. He knew the result of this battle, and therefore he told Arjuna that these soldiers, they're already dead. Nimitta matram bhavasavyasat, and you just be an instrument in my hands. So this was the desire of Krishna. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam dharmasya tadatmanam sujamya. That whenever there's a predominant rise of irreligion and a decline in religious practice, at that time I descend myself. to deliver the devotees, to annihilate the miscreants, and to re-establish religious principles. This is the purpose of Krishna's coming to this world. And yeah, he comes to also give us this knowledge. Bhagavad Gita, it's a guidebook. Bhagavad Gita is a guidebook for the human form of life. And sometimes we may wonder, how is it possible that I'm going to take the instructions of Krishna to heart and get purified and go back to Godhead? Some of you might wonder, how is this possible? But I'll give you an interesting pastime that gives us hope. From the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was a great Mayavadi, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was the most prominent Mayavadi scholar of all of India. But Lord Chaitanya, he went to Jagannath Puri and he delivered this Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he became a great devotee. He became a great Vaishnava. He became such a great Vaishnava that Lord Chaitanya manifested to him his Sadbhuj form. So he became such a great Vaishnava. Very, very devoted to Lord Chaitanya. So he invited Lord Chaitanya to his home to take prasad. Him and his wife were cooking for Lord Chaitanya. And they had heard that Lord Chaitanya can sometimes have a big appetite. So they cooked a lot. So Lord Chaitanya came, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he had a son-in-law, Amoga, who had a very bad reputation for being overcritical. So much so, he had such a bad reputation that his father-in-law, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, had to stand at the door with a stick just in case he came. You can imagine, he must have had a really bad reputation for the father-in-law to stand at the door with a stick. Just in case he comes, he's going to beat him. That's like, wow. So, his wife is serving out prasadam to Lord Chaitanya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sees that she needs some help, so he became a little inattentive in his guard duty. And he went and he was also serving out prasadam. But in his inattentiveness, Amoga came to the door and he peeked in and he saw, "What is this? This is enough food for 10 people. What kind of a sannyasi is this?" And when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya heard that, he looked at him, and if eyes could burn someone, his vision would have burnt him. Of course, this happens sometimes. Would have burnt him crisp. So Amoga saw that, and so he went running. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he went chasing him with his stick. Of course, he's an elderly man, he couldn't catch him. So he was so disturbed that the Supreme Lord had come to his home to honor prasadam, and he had been offended by this rascal, Amoga. So Lord Chaitanya said, "No, it's okay. He's right. I'm a sannyasi. I shouldn't be eating so much. Not a big deal." But they were so upset. So then Lord Chaitanya, he finished prasad and he went home. The next day, Gopinath Acharya, who was his brother-in-law of Sarvabhaumacharya. He went to Lord Chaitanya's residence and he asked, so, how is Sarvabhaumacharya and his wife doing? He said, oh, they're fasting. Fasting? Why are they fasting? They're taking this too seriously. It's not such a big deal. Yeah. And Amoga, how is Amoga? He's dying. He's dying of cholera. And immediately Lord Chaitanya got up and he went to where Amoga was on his deathbed. And he said to Amoga, Amoga, the heart of a Brahmana is naturally very pure and therefore a suitable place for Krishna to sit. Why have you allowed this chandala of envy to sit in your heart, making it an unsuitable place for Krishna to sit? Lord Chaitanya then put his hand, he had a big hand. It's described that his hand was so big that one handful of prasadam can serve 2 Bengalis. You know, Bengalis, they can eat a lot, you know, especially rice. You know. So he had a big hand. So he put his hand on his chest. And he said, however, because you are the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I take away all contamination. And when the heart is pure, naturally, one chants, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And then he took his hand off his chest, and the Amoga jumped up off of his deathbed and started chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. And he was chanting so ecstatically. It's described that his hairs were standing on end. Tears were flowing from his eyes, shivering, his body was shivering. He was chanting in ecstasy. And then he bowed down to Lord Chaitanya and begged for forgiveness for offending him. And he started slapping his face as hard as he could. Not soft like this, but as hard as he could. He was hitting so hard and so much that his face became swollen. He was hitting so much. And then Gopinath Acharya, he was there, so he restrained him. And he said that this mouth has blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was lamenting so much. So Amoga was such a rascal. He was such a rascal to blaspheme the Supreme Lord. But he became a pure devotee. Why? Because he had a relationship with a great devotee, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So our hope is that although it seems inconceivable that we're going to be ever free of the contamination that's now sitting in our heart, the hope is that we have a relationship with a great, great, great Vaishnava, one of the greatest Vaishnavas that has ever walked on this planet, Srila Prabhupada. He fulfilled the prediction, Pritivityacha yata nagaradigram sarvatapachoyore morinam, that the name of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will be spread to every town and village throughout the world. It's still happening. It's still going on. Still, people from all walks of life and all villages and countries, they're getting information of Krishna. They're hearing the names of Krishna. So that's our hope, that we're the grandsons or the sons of Srila Prabhupada. Now this relation that Amoga had with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, it wasn't even a spiritual relationship. It wasn't even a blood relationship. He was the husband of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's daughter. So the relationship was not very, deep. But a spiritual relationship is much, much more deep. So that's our hope, that we have this relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. So, and if we follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, how much more our future is bright. Yeah. If we follow the four regular principles, we chant the holy names attentively, we engage in devotional service, there's great hope. It's possible that we can also perfect this human form of life and go back home, back to Godhead. Lord Rishabhdev, he says, Nayang deho dehabhajam naloke kastam kaman arhate vidbhujang tipo divyang putakayena sadvang sudyajyasmad brahmasokyam tvanantam. That a person who have accepted material bodies, the persons who have accepted the human form of life, they shouldn't waste their time. People are wasting so much time. Yeah. And how are they wasting time now? Internet, Facebook, all these things, Twitter, there's so many things, I don't even know what they are now. So many ways. People have been bombarded by weapons of mass distraction, being distracted with so many things, television and videos and movies, all these things, wasting so much time. But time is very valuable. Time is very valuable. As Chandaka Pandit says, you can't buy back 1 second of time. How many seconds are there in a day? 86,400 seconds every day. And we shouldn't waste one of them. Not easy, to utilize all our time properly. Hearing, chanting, serving. But if we do, then Krishna is very pleased. So we shouldn't waste our time like the animals. What are the animals doing? They're eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's the sum and substance of their entire life. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Prabhupada said that the dog, he's running with his 4 paws, and this human being, he's driving with the 4 wheels, but the mentality is the same. Same mentality. So no, the human form of life, we're meant to think of higher things. Who am I? What's the goal of life? What happens at the time of death? Prabhupada said these are the 3 most important questions. So we're getting a great opportunity. So many people are have the human form of life now, about 7 billion. But how many are taking advantage of the human form of life? Very few. Very few. They're just going on in their sinful ways, not knowing. They're going to get big reactions. So it's our duty as devotees to let them know that you don't know, but you're going into a very dangerous situation. Just like imagine if there's a blind man who's also deaf, and he's walking, he has his stick, and he's walking towards some fast-moving traffic. Any gentleman would go to stop him. And even in some countries, if you don't, then it's a criminal offense. And you can go to jail. If you're in a situation where you can help someone in a dangerous situation and you don't, it's a criminal offense. You can go to jail. So we're in a situation where we could stop people from seeing the Yamadutas, which is even worse than going into moving traffic. Yeah. They don't know. They're doing so many sinful activities, and therefore they're going to get big reactions. So we have this opportunity to interfere with that. How? By giving them Prabhupada's books. Then they learn. They learn that actually I'm eternal. And there's a God who's observing all my activities. And I get reactions for sinful activities. It's like we didn't know. We were doing many of us were doing so many sinful things. We didn't know. Right? Then we got these books. Oh, I got to be careful. So people don't know. Om Ajnana Timanandasya. People are born into ignorance. Ajnana. People are born into Ajnana. So the spiritual master comes and he gives us eyes, yeah, so that we can see. We can see what is right, what is wrong. See with the eyes of knowledge. Yeah. Like there's a saying that the dog, he sees with his nose. You see, dogs are always sniffing, always sniffing. The karmis, they see with their eyes. The fruitive workers are always, therefore there's so much, there's so much advertisement, right? Everywhere you look, there's so much advertisement. Yeah. And they want to see, even the scientists, they only believe what they can see. Right? But devotee sees with the ear. That's a devotee. Sees with the ear. That's how to actually see. Yeah. By hearing. So if we hear nicely, therefore it's stated, Shushuso Shradhanasa Vasudeva Katadi Shuchi, that by serving those devotees who are free of vice and who give us words of wisdom by which we can see properly, one becomes free of the contamination of this age. Shrimbatam swa kata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantasto yabhadrani vidinoti suhritsatam. Wonderful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the super soul in the hearts of all living entities, and the benefactor, the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire from material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So just see how kind Krishna is. All we have to do is hear and relish. Just relish just appreciate what we're hearing. And Krishna in the heart, he appreciates that appreciation. And he cleanses our heart. So therefore we have to hear very nicely, yeah, regularly, nicely and regularly. And we're so fortunate we have these books that don't get old. Prabhupada says in one purport that you can hear the Srimad Bhagavatam thousands of times, and each time you read it, you get new insight in the subject matter. So we're so fortunate. Most books you read it once and that's it. Sometimes there might be a good book, you read it twice or even possibly 3 times. But you can read the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita over and over and over and over again. Nectar Devotion. Prabhupada said these are the 4 most main books. These are the 4 main books. So we can hear it over and over and over again. And it's ever fresh. It's purifying. Krishna was blessed that whatever he speaks will be ever fresh. Who was he blessed by? Anybody remember? Yes, the spiritual master. Yeah. Of course, Krishna doesn't need blessings. to for this whatever he speaks to be ever fresh, but he got those blessings. So yeah, we're very fortunate to have these words of wisdom. And Bhishma here, he's speaking so nicely. Now imagine he's speaking, and he's on a bed of arrows. And it's described that there were so many arrows that you couldn't put your finger in between any two. He was laying on a bed of arrows, and he's speaking such great wisdom. Yeah. And it's kind of a paradox that it's not a contradiction, but a paradox, that he was a great devotee. He's one of the Mahajans. Swayambhur, Narada, Sambhu, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Palato, Janako, Bhishmo, Balir, Vyasakir, Vayam. He's one of the 12 Mahajans. It's such a great, he's a pure devotee. But he's fighting on the other side of Krishna. How is this possible? He's fighting against Krishna. Pure devotee fighting against Krishna. How is this possible? Well, it's a pastime. Because Krishna, he likes to fight. Sometimes he likes to fight with his devotees. He also fought. What was another Mahajan that he fought with? Anybody remember? Shiva. He fought against Shiva also. Sometimes. And he's another Mahajan. Vaishnavaram Yatha Shambhu. Greatest Vaishnava. So sometimes Krishna covers them up a little bit, so they have this fighting feeling towards Krishna. And it's described that he was hitting Krishna with the arrows. It was just like flowers hitting him. So, pretty amazing pastime. There's one interesting pastime of when Arjuna and Duryodhana, they were getting the soldiers. They were getting soldiers on their side to fight. And neither one of them had approached Krishna. So somehow, by Krishna's arrangement, they both went to Krishna at the same time. You're right in front of the devotee there. So somehow they went to Krishna. He was transcendentally resting. Yeah. So they went to Krishna at the same time, and Duryodhana was thinking, better I'm by his head, because then he wakes up, he'll see me, and then he'll want to fulfill my desire first. And Arjuna, being the devotee, said, better I'm at his feet. Yeah. So Krishna transcendentally woke up. Krishna never sleeps. He's aware of everything, always. So he happened to see Arjuna first. He said, oh, Arjuna, you're here. And then he turned and saw Duryodhana. Oh, Duryodhana, you're here too. What's the occasion? And they said, well, there's wars coming up, and we just happen to be here at the same time, and we both want you to be on our side. And Krishna said, well, I'm not going to fight. Because there's a fratricide war, Krishna didn't want to fight relatives. Although he was encouraging Arjuna to. So I'm not going to fight, but I have so you can either have me on your side, or you can have my army. So Arjuna, I spoke to you, or I saw you first, so you choose. You can either have me, or you can have my army, but I'm not going to fight. So Arjuna, being a pure devotee, he understood that better have Krishna. So, but Duryodhana was thinking, oh, God, he's definitely going to take the army. But then Krishna inspired Arjuna to say, Krishna, I'll take you. And Duryodhana is like, boy, this guy must be nuts, So internally Duryodhana was like in ecstasy. I get the army. You know how big Krishna's army is? Anybody know? Anybody remember how big Krishna's army is? I believe it was 7 Akshauhini division of solar, which means millions. So Duryodhana was in ecstasy. By default, he gets the army. And Arjuna was also in ecstasy, because he knew better have Krishna. So see, this is Krishna. They both walked away very happy. They got what they wanted. And Krishna, of course, he's always happy. So that's Krishna. Everybody walks away happy. Just like on book distribution, we want everybody to walk away happy. So Krishna's expert at that. Krishna's very, very friendly and very practical. He knew what would make both of them happy. So then the battle starts. After 3 days, none of the Pandavas had been even touched, not a scratch. So Duryodhana told Bhishma, you must be favoring the Pandavas, because although you're the most powerful warrior, the Pandavas haven't even been touched. So Bhishma, he took that as a challenge. He's a warrior. He said, oh yeah, okay. You see these 5 arrows? These 5 arrows, tomorrow they're going to kill the Pandavas. So Duryodhana now, he's in ecstasy again. Oh, war is going to be over tomorrow. So Duryodhana said, can I keep those 5 arrows for safekeeping? He said, yeah. Took the arrows. So Krishna then, that evening, he told Arjuna, you have to go to Duryodhana. He owes you a favor. You go there and ask for 5 arrows. Why? Why is that? Because Bhishma has taken a vow to kill all 5 of you Pandavas with those 5 arrows. Oh, okay. So he went to Duryodhana, and it's amazing. What Prabhupada says here is that the warriors, the prime minister or the president, they would be up front, fighting. Right? But another thing was that after the sun would set, the fighting would stop. And they would even go to each other's homes, and they would dine and talk about the battles of the day, and just joke around, and it's like inconceivable. So he went to Duryodhana and knocked on his door, and Duryodhana goes to the door and, oh, Arjuna, you're here, come in, please come in. Is there anything I can get for you? Anything you want? Do you want the kingdom? I can give you the kingdom. No. Prabhupada was speaking about this, and he said, no. He said Arjuna wasn't a sissy. You understand sissy? Sissy means a boy that's like a girl. Yeah, acts like a girl. So he didn't want to be given the kingdom. He could have taken it. Duryodhana offered it to him. He would rather, because he's a fighter, he's a warrior, he'd rather fight for it. So, no, I don't want anything but those 5 arrows. So immediately he gave the 5 arrows. So that's another thing. Kshatriya, they're asked for something, immediately they give. No question, just give it. Of course, then he was lamenting, shoot, yeah, it was going to end tomorrow, but oh well. So then the next morning, Bhishma went to him, please give me the 5 arrows. I don't have them. What do you mean, what happened? Krishna, or no, he said, Arjuna came and took them. I owed a favor to him, and I had to give those 5 arrows to him. And immediately Bhishma understood, Krishna is behind this. He knew, because Arjuna, how is Arjuna going to know? But Krishna, he knew Krishna is omniscient. It's because of Krishna. So Because Krishna has forced me to break my promise today. I'm going to force him to break his promise, or I'm going to kill Arjuna. Arjuna was his most dear devotee. So, word got out that Bhishma is after Arjuna. There was no internet, no text messaging, but somehow the word got out. So all the soldiers on the sides of the Kurus were protecting, or they were pushing through, and the Pandavas, the warriors on the side of the Pandavas, they were protecting. They were trying to protect Arjuna. So it was just between Arjuna and Bhishma, and they were trying to get Bhishma to go towards Arjuna, and the Pandavas' team is trying to keep them away. But Bhishma, he's the greatest warrior, so he was pushing through and pushing through and pushing through and pushing through. Yeah. Such determination. We also have to have, we can learn from this, we have to have very great determination to push through, to get through this Maya, yeah, this illusory energy. With great determination, we have to carry on. So, towards the end of the day, Bhishma is there with Arjuna, fighting Arjuna. Now, Arjuna is a great warrior too, but Bhishma is much more powerful. So, Krishna could see that now Bhishma is going to kill Arjuna. So then, we all seen the picture of Krishna grabbing the chariot wheel to attack Bhishma, and Bhishma is standing there. So, actually there's different versions of the Mahabharata. Does anybody know why Bhishma stopped fighting? Huh? Anybody know? He was on his way. He's getting ready to kill Arjuna. Krishna picked up the chariot wheel and he stopped. Anybody know why? There's two different versions. Of course, there's Mahabharata and different. I heard there's different versions in different universes. So one is that as soon as Krishna picked up the chariot wheel, Krishna broke his promise. So he thought, all right, yeah, I did my duty. I forced him to break his promise. That was his thing. He wanted to either kill Arjuna or force him to break his promise. And the other version is that when the sun goes down, all the fighting stops. So just then, the sun had gone down. So Bhishma had to stop. So Arjuna was saved. Krishna, he Rakhe Krishna more Krishna Rakhe. If Krishna wants to kill someone, who can save him? If Krishna wants to save someone, who can kill him? No one can kill him. So Arjuna was a great devotee, a very pure devotee. And we also can become pure devotees by the mercy of Krishna. But we have to take this process very seriously. This Maha Mantra that we're chanting, it's an anti-inflammatory mantra. It's like I have this inflammation in my foot, so I'm taking some things like turmeric and MSM to reduce the inflammation. But then I was thinking that this Hare Krishna mantra, it's also an anti-inflammatory medicine, because it decreases the inflammation of our false ego. And this is the main problem, the ego. You know, that we think that we're this body, or I'm Indian, I'm American. Very difficult to overcome this contamination. But this Hare Krishna mantra, it's non-different than Krishna. And Krishna can reduce this false ego to nothing. So that all that's left is the real ego. We can't give up ego. Ego means identity. So when we give up this false ego, then we'll be left with the real ego, that we're the eternal servants of Krishna. Yeah. And this is what we're trying to get free of, everything, all the contaminations, so that all that's left is service to Krishna. Just like there's one very famous sculptor in Europe, and he was meditating on this stone. He was going to sculpture something, and he was meditating on how he's going to remove everything that keeps this from being a good sculpture. So that's the whole idea, is just removing things, removing the stone, so that all that's left is a good sculpture. That's interesting. He was meditating on that. Yeah. And he's I forgot his name. Anybody know his name? I can't remember his name. So that's what we're doing. We're just removing all the lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion, ego, false ego, all this, so that all that's left is pure service to Krishna. Okay, any question or comment? Yes. Then you become complacent. I'm saved already. I got this relationship with Prabhupada. Yeah, well, Krishna's not foolish. We can't take advantage of that. And this process is also very nice. We can just be complacent like that, but then if we're complacent like that, then it's very easy for Maya to also take us away. As we've seen, Prabhupada said 90% of my disciples, they'll leave. So many left when Prabhupada was still here. So he said, and he predicted that 90%, it may be like that now. Very difficult. Prabhupada says in the purport that the process, or the what is it? I can't. Actually, is it in here? The process is difficult, but I can't. I just heard it this morning. Anyway, I can't remember. Anyway, the idea is that it was the philosophy is very nice, but to implement, to put it into practice, this is difficult. And therefore we've seen, for people to practice this year after year after year after year, decade after decade, that's difficult. One actually has to have, you have to have a taste. We have to have a taste. So we can pray for that taste. It's like one devotee prayed to Lord Nityananda, please make me happy in Krishna consciousness, so I'm not attracted. Nityananda, Ananda, right? Lord Nityananda is eternally blissful. So please make me happy, so that I'm not attracted to the attractions of this world. So we can pray like that. Please, Krishna, give me a taste, so I'm not illusioned again, and I get pulled out into the material nature. So we have to be very strict. Prabhupada said that if you follow all the rules and regulations very strictly, the big ones and the small ones, then you'll advance very nicely. Confirmed. Yes, Prabhu. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, very good, yeah. If we pray to, of course, Krishna is already happy, is always happy. But to act in such a way that our actions are pleasing to Krishna, yeah, so that's another thing. But there's a devotee that prays like that, pure devotee, prays like that. Please, Lord Nityananda, make me happy so that I'm not attracted. So that's kind of like a lower level, yeah. But to act in such a way that Krishna's happy with our activities, yeah. And we're fortunate because we know what is pleasing to Krishna, what gives happiness to Krishna. Yeah. So many people out there, they have no idea. People don't even know there's a God. So we're very, very fortunate. But we should not be complacent with that fortune. We should also want to make others fortunate. And therefore, our society is a giving society. We want to give out the holy name. We want to give out prasadam. We want to give out this knowledge in the form of transcendental books. So, yeah, we shouldn't be complacent with that. You know. But try to help others. This is a devotee. Yeah. Anything else? Yes. So he didn't offend Lord Chaitanya, you're saying? He wasn't offended. How did he get a reaction? Well, he got a positive reaction. Prabhupada says that Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, he doesn't accept offense. And this is the example. Right there. I mean, he criticized him. Lord Chaitanya didn't take offense. So Lord Chaitanya is very, very merciful. He doesn't take offense. And therefore, before we chant Hare Krishna, we chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Then we chant Hare Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. And another sign of his mercy is just because Amoga was related to a great devotee, he completely cleansed him of all contamination. So Lord Chaitanya is very, very, very merciful. So we can also pray for the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, that we can be free of this contamination as Amoga was freed of his contamination. Okay? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.